Foreclosures are rising, and here is why I'm not worried. That's what we're going to cover in this monthly market report. This is for you if you are a real estate agent, a financial advisor, or an attorney interested in market data to help you advise a client, or perhaps you are that potential buyer or seller looking for some direction. I am Paulo Rodriguez. I've been a mortgage professional since 2005, and here is the market data that you need to make an informed buying or selling decision, or help your client do the same. We're at the midpoint of the year, and a lot of people are wondering, what is the second half of the year going to bring? Will the market pick up? Will home sales pick up? That is a question on many people's minds right now as we look to the second half of the year. The senior economist at Nationwide said this: many homes on the market are lingering due to the lack of buyer interest. This speaks to the deep affordability issues for potential buyers, which have been exacerbated by the recent spike in rates. Until mortgage rates ease, more first-time home buyers will continue to view home ownership as cost prohibitive compared to renting. I think we all know that affordability weighs heavy on Americans' minds, and it doesn't help that prices are not dropping meaningfully. The chief economist at the National Association of Realtors said, mortgage rates have been rising, and that has led us to trim our home sales outlook for the year. Even with a more modest pace of sales growth, home prices continue to steadily increase due to minimal inventory growth. Now, there's a stat I didn't think I'd be covering: rising interest rates and stubbornly high prices. Rising interest rates should be putting a downward pressure on prices, but the lack of inventory growth is overpowering that pressure. Obviously, there are specific markets and specific property types in certain markets that are seeing declines, but by and large, prices have slowed down nationwide, but are still being propped up by supply constraints. Now, one thing that I do think is going to dominate a lot of clickbait and headlines is that foreclosures are rising. That is true. If we look at the properties in foreclosure over the last several quarters, they've been slowly rising. That is a fact. Bouncing around somewhere a little north of 100,000 fines per quarter across the country. That's probably a very normalized level. But if we back up and we look at this same graphic from a wider lens, going all the way back to 2005, it really puts a different perspective on things. And this is why I refer to clickbait. That's what the media is going to go for. Yes, foreclosures are rising, but should we really be concerned? Look at this chart. Absolutely not. Context is everything. We are nowhere near what we saw over the last 20 years. Back in 2008, 9 million people went through some sort of distressed transaction in the market, and we are nowhere near that. This market is very, very different. Okay, so switching gears. Why are people buying right now despite everything that's going on in the world and here at home? There's a lot going on, and yet there are people buying. Redfin came out and said, life doesn't stand still. People get new jobs, they grow their families, they downsize after retirement, or simply want to live in a different neighborhood. These needs are starting to outweigh the financial benefit of clinging onto rock bottom mortgage rates. As a result, more homes are sitting on the market than we've seen in years, getting buyers a wider range of choices. So what's driving transactions right now? Well, the number one thing is life events. That's what's driving this market. It's not the opportunistic market that we saw before. It's life events that are driving it. And take a look at this. In a 2-year time span, 7 million births occurred in this country. 7 million people turned 65. 4 million people died. 3 million marriages and 1.5 million divorces. All of those are reasons for real estate transactions to happen. Life events will drive this market, bottom line. Now, one of the things that has kept upward pressure on prices in this market is the fact that we don't have people that have to leave their home. There are no forced sellers. We don't have that market where there is distress. And why is that? Well, there are a couple of reasons I want to give you. And if you've been following me for at least a few years, you are going to recognize some of these slides. First and foremost, if you look at the people with a mortgage, as of the fourth quarter of last year, more than 50% of those people have a rate lower than 3.99%. Let's call it 4%. Then 27% are somewhere between 4 and 6%. And then 21.9% are higher than 6. So the majority of people in this country have a great mortgage rate on their house and probably couldn't go out and rent an apartment for what their mortgage is. The other factor of the strength in the market is the equity that people are sitting on. 39.3%, that's almost 40% of homes in this country are paid for free and clear. And an additional 27% have more than 50% equity. So you have 2/3 of households in the market right now that either have their house paid off or have at least 50% equity. Only a third of homes have less than 50% equity, and that is really, really strong. So back in the financial crisis, when it came to strategic default, people walked away when the house was worth less than they owed, and they didn't have a choice. They had to do something. This is not the market that we're in. And if you look at this graphically, and I'm going to kind of zoom out here and give you a Federal Reserve chart going all the way back to 2000, what do you see? The green line is the value of homes, which is increasing. The blue line is the equity, which is also increasing. And the orange line, which is debt, is holding steady at 14 trillion. So there are no forced sellers in this market. Under the surface, we are probably living in one of the strongest real estate markets of our lifetime. So remember that as you're talking to someone who says, well, homes are sitting around and no one wants to buy them, so when all these homes go into foreclosure, let me know because I want to buy a couple. It's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. We live in a very, very strong real estate market despite everything going on in the world. That's a wrap for the July market report. I appreciate you listening in. Forward, subscribe, share. I'll be back next month. But before you go, if you're looking to purchase or refinance or know someone that is and would like a no-cost consultation with me personally, feel free to reach out and I'd be happy to analyze if your debt is structured in the most optimal way or if there's room for improvement. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.